Welcome to Bottled Up. I'm Andrew Allen. Today, I'm joined by Brandon and Christina Pike, owners of 3 thriving Pilates studios along the Gulf Coast. Christina started as a school nurse, then discovered her passion for fitness and nutrition, transforming it into a business that now supports dozens of instructors and hundreds of clients. Brandon brings his expertise in business and environmental restoration, balancing the numbers behind the scenes. In this episode, you'll hear how they turned a casual interest into a booming wellness brand, the secrets behind their impressive client retention, and how they cultivate both community and competition in the fitness industry. Whether you're a fitness professional or just considering your own entrepreneurial journey, you're going to learn how genuine passion, teamwork, and staying true to your vision can lead to lasting success. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Bottled Up. My very special guests today are Brandon Pike.
Hey, Andrew. Happy to be here.
And Miss Christina Pike.
Hey, Andrew.
Well, y'all are the owners of 3 different locations of Pilates studios on the coast here. And I kind of wanted to get you guys in here on the show, not only just to talk about, the origins of how you came up with, the concept, how you kind of allowed a passion to become a business. I kind of wanted to start back a little bit with each one of your histories. So let's start with you, Christina. Christina, what were you doing that before you decided to open up a Pilates studio, and how did you kind of come to the conclusion that that's what you wanted to do?
So I actually went to school and majored in nursing. So I was a school nurse for about 7 years. I worked in the hospital prior to that. And shortly after Brandon and I got married, I took another job. A friend, actually 2 friends, had opened a Pilates studio and had asked me to come on as an instructor. I had never taken a class before. I've kind of been a runner my whole life. So that was a new concept for me. Went through training with them and taught a few classes a week while working at the school. It was fun. About a year into it, they ended up selling their studio. And so I left, continued my work at the school, and then missed those classes and just casually one day asked Brandon if I could order 2 reformers and do a couple of one-on-ones a week. And his very easy answer was, sure, why wouldn't I order those reformers? And
let me fill in a gap here, Andrew. Actually, she, and not a big gap, but there was a period of time when Christina left school nursing just to, she had done that for several years. That had sort of run its course for her. Her girls were going to be moving out of the elementary school that she was working in. She went to work just in a very normal admin position here in Gulfport. And one thing that had always happened with Christina was, she is, a fitness fanatic. She's a marathoner. She's extremely fit, a clean eater. And people would always ask her, what's your diet? Like, we know what you do in terms of workouts and running and training, but what do you eat? Because we see that you and Brandon travel all the time. Like, you're in New Orleans, you're in Savannah, you're going, there's no way that so she was always getting questioned about, how she ate and how she managed that. And this was right before COVID, when she decided to do some coaching. Yeah. Accountability, nutrition things. And that's really where it started. That thing blew up for her very quickly. And it was, a couple of her clients in what at the time was called Nourish, who had been in her classes where she was instructing in other studios before, and just wanted her to do Pilates. And that's what sparked her to, say, hey, look, what does it look like? I'm coaching these people, keeping them accountable from a, standpoint of diet, but they want to do some personal training. And that's when she decided to buy two reformers, and Reform was born there.
Okay. So, and a lot of what you guys do, Christina, you especially, a lot of what you do is like, it's like human resource. It's like, it's PR and human resources on like like your clients are the business, right? And if your clients are happy, they keep coming back. So you have to you have to kind of be very receptive to the demands of the people that are, your client base. So that's kind of where it all derived from, is people saw a spark in you and noticed that you had a knack and a talent for this. And obviously you have a passion for it. And it kind of just happened naturally, it sounds like.
It really did. I mean, when we ordered those reformers, when I was doing the one-on-ones, it was clients telling other people about it. And naturally, I think I got to a place where I was teaching maybe 40 classes a week by myself.
It's a lot.
And quickly learned that I couldn't take 40 classes a week myself. So in order to grow, I had to end up hiring on to the team. And actually, the first instructor I hired was who I first worked for at the Pilates studio that opened here.
Okay, so, all right. So which school were you a nurse for? Were you a nurse at Bellevue Elementary, or where were you a nurse?
Was, yeah.
Okay, so you were the Bellevue Elementary nurse for 7 years?
Yeah, I think it was 7 years.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My children go there. So, I mean, I know what it's like where you deal with a lot of kids saying, hey, can you call my mom? I want to.
Oh, yeah.
How much there's a lot of like kids just trying to get out of class in that role. So you already kind of have, I imagine, just going into the nursing field, people who go into nursing have they have an innate ability to just want to help people. And that's what they dedicate their lives towards. So basically your hobby being fitness and having that inside ability to want to help people, this was obviously a natural fit for you.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Brandon knows, always wanting to take care of everyone. So this was just another way when I left the school to still help and take care of others that decided to walk through the doors.
So the nutrition came first. Was that the first thing that came before the Pilates?
Correct.
Okay, so Nourish, and it's called Nourish Gulf Coast, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Nourish was first, and that was like meal plans and diet nutrition plans, along with exercise plans. And then you bought 2 reformers. And where was your first studio located?
Right there.
Right where the Gulfport studio still is. And we she was doing Nourish, out of because she didn't know this was going to be a thing. This was like a side thing. I mean, she was still working in an administrative position, actually for our friend Clay Williams at the Gulfport Airport.
Okay.
As she was going about her day in an admin position, she just had these things kind of in her mind, and it was sort of a side thing once she got home from work and doing this accountability work, and she did it at home, but it got to be such a big deal that she just needed some space.
Right.
She was traveling all over the place, going to meet with clients, measure, do all the things that you do when you're trying to, taking a scale with her, like all these, like traveling around, like, with this stuff in her car. And I said, look, we just need to get you a space. And we happened to find a space right next to Radish Loft, right there in the middle of Bellevue. Never intended for it to be a Pilates studio. Never. Wasn't on anybody's radar screen. It was just, we just needed a few 100 square feet where she could meet with people and they could come to her instead of her, trying to travel all across the coast to go meet with these clients. That's where
it's less windshield time, just more, just having a destination.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon, what's your history in all of this? What's your background? What is it that
who are you? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very interested because I know that you're a solid rock support system when it comes to Christina. Like, to have a husband who wants to, prop up the dreams of their spouse is very special. And I think that you do that very well, just outside looking in. So where did all this come from, and what was your history? What do you specialize in?
All right. So I have business interests of my own outside of this, but I grew up, I'm not from here. I've been here since 1996. As a kid, we lived right outside of Birmingham. My family moved to Fort Worth, Texas in 1985. I graduated from high school there, went to college in Houston at Rice, and then moved to the Gulf Coast, really only stopping over here is what I thought. I thought I was going to go to law school in Tuscaloosa. But I happened to graduate from college in the middle of a year. So, consulting firms recruit people. Nobody was on campus. I knew I wanted to take, a little bit of time off before I went to law school, but I really didn't have an opportunity to do anything. So I knew I wanted to get back closer to where I grew up. I really thought I would live, around Birmingham somewhere. But ended up here in a fundraising job. And actually, Andrew, I met your your dad, when I was doing fundraising work for the Boy Scouts, and as you well know, he was so involved in that. And
100%. Yep.
I mean, Drew is just critical to that entire operation, the volunteer network there. And so I was working in a nonprofit position, thinking I was just going to take like 6 months before I moved to Tuscaloosa and went to law school. And got to meet great people like Drew Allen, and fortunately for me, Martin Golden, who's my business partner. And we ended up in 1998 going into an environmental business. At the time, I didn't understand. I was an English and history major in college, and when Martin asked me to do this environmental thing, I was like, I don't have a clue what you're talking about, but yeah, let's do that. That was October 1st, 1998. I went to work for Martin. Within a couple of years, he and his brother, Alan, who's also my partner, brought me in as their partner. And, since 1998, we've grown a series of sort of environmental restoration related businesses. We're like general contractors, but we don't build buildings. We build environmental projects. We work with, departments of transportation, energy companies, large industrial companies like International Paper, local developers, all helping them meet the requirements, like regulatory requirements of.
Yep. That's super niche, but super important.
Super niche. Yeah. My kids hate it when somebody says, "What's your dad do?" They're like, I don't know. We have no idea. He's on the phone. He sends emails. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes his car gets dirty, but so that's kind of we've been in that business, in a series of those businesses since 98. So my role in reform really is just, it's the business role. It's the behind the scenes. I mean, I deal with our accountants and CPA. I deal with the business aspects of it. My job is I love my job, and I say that, but there's no creative outlet in my work.
Well, that's what you have Christina for.
And so yes, I get to do creative things. Like I typically design the spaces. I mean, just in terms of, I enjoy, finding the unique things that make it an interesting place to show up at, art and color and, details, furniture, stuff like that. That's kind of
what I've noticed, Brandon, is that people who are English and history majors normally have pretty good taste, man.
I try.
And I think that it shows, because I've been inside of y'all's spaces. My wife is an instructor for you guys, and also I have a link to Alan. I grew up right next door to them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So decades of experience of I grew up. Scott was a close friend of mine, valedictorian of my graduating class. So I do know them quite extensively. So
yeah, well, I'm like half member of the Golden family. I've been with them a long time. Yeah.
And it's this place, the Gulf Coast, on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, kind of like, if you stay here long enough, you're never going to leave.
Absolutely.
And I've talked to multiple people. I've talked to people who are transplants from like the Delta or transplants from outside the Jackson, Madison area. And there's always a view of how we live our lives here on the coast. And once they come down here and they live here, they're like, okay, well, I get it. I understand now.
Yep.
So, well, you being the business side, like the crunching numbers, the business side of it, and Christina being the forward-facing instructor side of it, seems to be a good complement to one another. So you start off with 2 reformers. How many instructors and clients did you start out with? Like, how many clients, like when you kicked this thing off, how many clients were you working with, Christina?
Maybe 5. Yeah, to start. And that, I feel like maybe a year into it, I had probably less than 50, I would say. And that's when I started bringing other people on.
Got it.
It was a capacity issue for her. I mean, it was her ability to have clients in the studio was capped by how many classes could she teach. I mean, there's only so much, that one person could do. And at the time, she had 2 reformers, and then what did we buy? 1 more or 2 more after that?
But we bought maybe 2 more. Slowly
kind of expanding. Yeah, let's add some capacity in this space that was never intended to be a studio. So I always call it the little studio that could. I mean, that little space in BioView is not much to look at. We've done, pretty well with it, inside, but nobody would look at that and say, yes, we got to turn it.
No. Outside looking in, you wouldn't believe what's inside of there, honestly. I mean, and then, okay, so what year did you kick this whole thing off? Just to kind of give the listener a timeline.
I think it was 2020. Yeah.
Okay. So it was COVID time.
Yes.
Okay. And they started off with
Great time to open a Pilates studio where people need to show up in person.
I mean, it's a great time to jump off of a cliff into your dreams when everything is shutting down. And there's guidelines, especially when you're dealing with I don't know what kind of regulations they had on I know that gyms and stuff had certain regulations. Barbershops and salons had certain regulations, so I know there was probably some of that going on. And not to mention trying to instruct probably in a mask was not fun. So, well, okay. So you start off, you have about 5 people, 2 reformers, and then it starts to grow. So, and it grows because people are telling each other about it, and you can't do it all on your own. So so you started hiring people. So who were the first few people that you brought in, and how many people did you bring in to start picking up the workload?
So Laura Ann actually was the first.
Okay.
She came in and just kind of helped me manage the space. She was not teaching. And then I hired on Keisha, who is who I used to work for. And then from there, we added another reformer. So we ended up having 5 and then started adding instructors as well.
So I imagine when I think about y'all's business, adding a reformer is adding volume to your client base, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So every reformer you add multiplies the amount of responsibility as far as client base, income, all of that. So it's an investment in more business.
Yeah. And it's a balancing act, Andrew, because the real look, if you have, let's say you're teaching a class, get into the business part of this, if you're instructing a class that goes from 5 in the morning to 6 in the morning, whether you're paying an instructor to be there and instruct, whether 2 people show up for that class or 5 people show up for that class. And if you can fit, 10 reformers in the room, all right, then the return is even better. But there's a balance between that. And one thing Christina's always prided herself on in this business is sort of the intimate nature of it. A lot of people have been to studios where you're elbow to elbow with somebody and people are
you're slammed in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't think that's what people here are looking for. And it's less pleasant. And it's harder on an instructor. An instructor, you're teaching to 5 people. They're not all at the same level. And so our instructors really have to be adept at teaching to the level of each person in their class and knowing how to offer the right modifications, know how to keep the very strong person interested and the weakest person not defeated, right? You got to figure all that out. And if you've got the more people, more bodies that you add, the more complicated that equation gets. So it's always finding that balance of how many machines do we need in here in order to make all of the overhead make sense versus how many machines, where is that point of diminishing returns where you have a lot of machines, you could keep a lot of people, but people don't want to be there because it's too crowded.
Yeah, you're trying to balance a razor's edge between it's you want to offer a premium experience. That's kind of what you're wanting. It's a private, semi-private session. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, you're not like buying a warehouse and putting 50 and then you're on a giant microphone and you're looking around. There's 20. Yeah. It's more of an intimate experience. That's kind of what y'all are trying to curate and give to your clients.
Yeah. But even in the very beginning, when we started this, I think one of the most appealing parts to clients walking in was how small it was and how they got to know the instructor teaching them too. So they feel like there's relationship walking through the door, which there is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think y'all nail that on the head when it comes to the client experience. And, okay, so you open up the Gulfport's studio. How long until you guys expanded out to Ocean Springs? I mean, not Ocean Springs. I'm sorry, Bay St. Louis.
Bay St. Louis. Well, I'd have to go back on the calendar, but we did it so our son Sam, who's a freshman at Ole Miss now, was in 6th grade at Bioview Middle School. And we figured out that was not going to work for him. We love the Gulfport schools. All of our kids have gone through Gulfport schools. He needed something extra. And Andrew, you grew up here. One day Christina said after another email from a teacher about Sam, have you thought about Stanislaus? I have
my
not.
My sister went to OLA, Brandon. I totally get it.
So you get it.
And she was exactly like Sam. She was one of those kids that she needed that extra attention.
Yeah. So that, we immediately went that direction. So 7th grade, he started, and just all of our back and forth to the Bay. We love, like anybody down there, we love the Bay. Everybody loves the Bay. And so, there's so much going on over there. And we just kind of, noticed that this is like target demographic for what Christina's doing. And there were 2 yoga studios, and that was it. Like nobody was doing anything else really. And it really just seemed like a great opportunity for Pilates to come in there. And so we spent a little time, found the space, went through a major renovation in the space. It was a space that had been a restaurant pre-Katrina. That entire sort of row of spots over near the train depot in the Bay had really been vacant and totally run down and neglected since Katrina. The city of Bay St. Louis was using the space that we ended up in to store their Christmas decorations. It had been like a bar back in the day. I think it was Benigno's. There was carpet on the wall, for where a band was. There was beer buckets as, light fixtures. It
was awful.
Lordy.
I mean, when I took Christina in there, I said, look, you're going to have to just trust me.
It's not good.
No, but look up at these 14-foot, 15, 16-foot ceilings with exposed, wood beams. Look at these brick, walls. I'm telling you, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. But it was tough to see when we first went in there because it was pretty bad.
Well, I imagine kind of having your finger on the pulse of what the Bay actually is. And then the way I kind of look at the Bay is, everybody loves the Bay. The people who live in the Bay love it. The Bay has kind of turned into like New Orleans on the weekend.
It sure no doubt.
It's all those houses and Airbnbs over there are constantly being rented out for people who want to get out of the city and come over to the Bay and kind of have like a party kind of casual weekend. And I imagine your client base how much of your client base over there in the Bay are people from outside of the state?
So I would say it's a good percentage. A lot of our clients have second homes in the Bay that are from New Orleans. I mean, I would say 40% maybe.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
And, COVID was a big deal because as we all remember, I don't think Bay St. Louis apparently didn't have any COVID because we know, everybody went there on the weekends because it was the only thing that was open. And so many people, we would see people from New Orleans or the North Shore or wherever who had grown up coming to the Pass or to the Bay as kids. They had second homes, their families. They wanted to get out of Louisiana, and particularly out of New Orleans. And so they would come and stay in those houses, or they decided just to move. We know people who have lived in New Orleans. They said, no, we're moving to the Bay. We can go back to the city whenever we want. Things are terrible. We love going to New Orleans because we visit, but I can't imagine if you were living in the middle of some of that.
Yeah.
It'd be a challenge. And so, a lot of people just took that route, and it's been transformational with it.
Oh, it really has. And you can see it. I mean, the golf court culture.
That's right.
It's you can definitely tell that. And that was y'all got a prime spot right there where y'all decided to put that studio, Brandon. So your vision was 100% spot on.
Sometimes you get lucky.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you hit the bullseye, man. And okay, so you opened the Bay up in 22. So now you're sitting on two separate studios. How does the world of being a fitness instructor or being an owner of a fitness studio, how does it work when it comes to like the competitive environment? When I talk about the way that I operate, mine's pretty clear cut. I have one person that I'm fighting against constantly. But when it comes to the environment of being a fitness instructor and holding on to clients and retention and all that, like, is it highly competitive? Like, how does that operate?
Well, it can be. I just have to kind of keep my vision of what I've wanted for these spaces that we have. I mean, as we know, Gulfport started and we really didn't intend for that studio to open like it did. Bay St. Louis was intentional. So I had to go into that one Gulfport grew organically and I had to really work to get Bay St. Louis open. So I just kind of went in and wanted to show them who we are and what we offer. And I really tried my hardest to not kind of look around. I mean, I wanted people to walk in and just see, okay, this is what she's bringing over here. And a lot of our clients were ones that started out with us.
That says something right there, Christina.
Yeah, there's really, really good retention. And I think a couple thoughts on this. One, it's always our goal to have people walk in and just want to be there, right? You create an experience both. Yeah, design is great. I mean, the part that I love to do is great, but I tell people all the time, I couldn't teach a Pilates class if my life depended on it. And
Same.
I tell instructors, I get to Christina, look, which is kind of funny because she's teaching and, she's in front of people all the time. She hates that. Like, she does not want to be in front of a group of people talking.
Never.
Like the fact that we're doing this, like, this is a step for her, even though she knows it's recorded, it's not live and you can't see her. But
yeah, it's all good, Christina. You're in a safe space here.
Thanks.
I love that. Like, I love to talk in front of people. It's, so at the Christmas party every year, I get to tell all the instructors how much, and it's very genuine for me how much I appreciate all of them. I mean, there's 27 of them now, but
yeah,
that because of how they support Christina. But people will come in and they enjoy being in a place that's nice. But if you don't have instructors who know what they're doing and who provide a workout experience that makes somebody feel challenged without being defeated, you're not going to keep them. Like the instructors, like these people, like Carmen, are what keep people coming back in those doors every single day, like day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. So that's the number one thing. We're aware of competitors that are around.
Right.
And look, Christina's great about encouraging people. She never says you should only be doing Pilates. Like there's a little risk here, but it's, hey, look, I know if you're going over to do, strength workouts at some other fitness, training place, good for you, because it's going to make all this stuff is going to be complementary. And we're for you. Like we want you to be, and doing Pilates every day is probably not the best way to do it. But by the same token, we like to be aware of what other people are doing, but really focused on just delivering the thing that we know we deliver, that Christina and her instructors deliver better than anybody else on the coast.
So it's kind of just staying true from Christina, and what I heard from what you said. It's kind of like don't knee jerk because you think someone else is doing something that, that's going to get into this. It's like, okay, I know who I am. I know what my message is. I know what I'm going to do, and just staying in that lane and staying true to what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's a difficult thing to do, especially when you're managing a business and you're starting to, and you go to sleep thinking about this place, I would imagine, and you wake up thinking about this place, I would imagine. And
I can promise you that's true.
I know the feeling. So it's one of those things where it's staying true to yourself and staying true to the message that you want to do. It's almost like you have to kind of take a deep breath and be like, all right, this is what we started. We're doing. This is obviously people are liking what we're doing. We're going to continue to do what we're doing. And we're not going to change things just because someone is trying to open up a Pilates bar studio like a half a mile down the road.
Or some other modality. I mean, there are all sorts of things that people, and everybody wants to try a thing that's new. And what we have to stay focused on is this is what we do. And we think what we deliver is the best that you can get anywhere on the coast. And we think that the clients are happy. And if they step away or they take a few, fewer classes over the course of a month or two because they wanted to try something new, then they have to do that. We're not going to shame them for that. And we're not going to change, and react, quickly to something, that gets us outside of really our lane.
I think consistency is what is the key to everything in the business that you guys are involved in. I think that, like you said, Brandon, everyone wants to try something new, but then they go and they're like, oh man, I don't like the vibe here. Like, I really don't like how you can also tell this, and I'm going to say this because my wife has been involved in the fitness industry as an instructor for, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years, I think. And you can tell from the instructors how they treat one another, how well that place is being run. And that comes from the top down. And
thanks for saying that.
I have seen toxic environments. I have seen environments that are petty. I have seen the way that you run stuff, Brandon and Christina, you guys, it's a holistic, helpful, supportive environment that reflects out from your instructors into your client base. And that's exactly, it's everything comes from the top. And if your house is not put together up top, it ain't going to be put together at the base. So I've seen both sides of this. Literally. And if the instructors are happy with what they're doing and they're willing to support each other and, they're willing to take classes and willing to cover and willing to, put everything they can into these clients, it's coming from you guys. So
thanks for saying that.
I've seen it. So I just wanted to kind of say that. So Bay St. Louis has been open for 4 years as of this year, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you guys decide, or how do you decide to expand into a new location?
Well,
Like when
This is a
when
good
do y'all
story.
when do y'all sit down and say, hey, you know
We,
what? I
we
think we
don't.
need to like what happens in your lives where you're like, okay, let's do a third location.
So one just general thing I want to say about what Christina's done. And I'm talking about her. This is the purest, most organic small business story I have ever seen. I mean, from somebody who is living a dream that she didn't know she had. None of this it's been methodical, but not calculated. And
Yep.
she didn't, like, we didn't sit down and have a conversation when she decided to sort of expand what she was doing with Nourish and turn it into Reform and say, in year one, I want to do this. And then we want to move to Bay. Say, we're going to think about that. That was, I mean, my mind does those things, but for her, that's never where it came from. And I would say that once we had 2 studios of she and I thought I would love to do more, but I'm not instructing. Like I have my own things and, she's in this every day. So it really was it was taking an opportunity that presented itself. I'll be honest with you. We had affirmatively said we are not going to Ocean Springs. In the past, like, because somebody would say, when are you coming to Ocean Springs? When are you coming to Ocean Springs? But we're not, because there are studios over there.
Yep.
Like, we're not, that's not what we're really about. We're not trying to go in there and dilute the market. We're not trying to go in there and, we've got a good footprint here. Christina's got plenty to do. She's not, doesn't have too much downtime. Like, Ocean Springs is not something we're looking to do.
This isn't a franchise situation.
That's not what we're trying to do yet. So
Got it.
we get a text one day, and it came to both of us. And it was from a friend of ours, a young lady who's been, a friend.
She knew what she was doing when she did it this way.
She's taken photos for our family and stuff like that in the past. And she was working in kind of a marketing PR position over in Ocean Springs and working for the people who are the developers of the spot that we're in Ocean Springs now. And so she sends a text, and it's to me and Christina at the same time. And it says, look, I don't know if you guys are if you are thinking about expansion, if you thought about Ocean Springs, but these folks are really looking for somebody to fill this sort of fitness spot in the development, and you would be perfect, and they would love to talk. So had that text, Andrew, gone just to Christina, I would not have known about it.
I wouldn't have seen
like
anything.
It never would have come up.
Yeah. It would have died. It would have been left on red, died.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So, but I see it. So anyway, we sort of have a talk about it later. And, it was a great location. It was the right opportunity, with the right people. You've gotten to know the developer a little bit. They're great folks. The timing was just right. The opportunity was, and we thought, why not? Let's go do it. The studio will be different completely. All 3 of the studios are completely different sort of spaces. This was the first kind of new construction thing we had been in. It was, that was a good opportunity. But there's a lot.
Did y'all have feedback on like how it was built?
We had feedback on just the build out of the space, her space.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But, it was opportunistic. It wasn't something that we had planned, but the opportunity came up. And when Christina didn't punch me in the throat when I said this is a good idea, I thought, well, this may have some legs.
Yeah, we might be going to OS.
Yeah.
Well, so how long that has been open recently?
So that we opened that space over the holidays, November, December. Yeah. December. We opened just a modified schedule to get through the holidays. And then January came, we opened pretty much, I guess, for 5 days a week now there.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't even talked about the other modalities that you guys offer. I mean, we're talking about Pilates, but you guys offer, Pilates and bar, and you also have climb classes. The forget what is it called?
Versa Climber.
Yeah, Versa classes. So do you have Versa? Let's kind of give the listener a little bit to the inside of each capability in each location. That way, like if someone's listening to this and they're thinking, about getting into this form of exercise and wants to become a client, like where are the opportunities?
So our Gulfport location, we have Reformer Pilates and Versa Climber classes. Then we've got combo classes of those 2 together. Bay St. Louis, we have Reformer Pilates and bar. And then Ocean Springs, we have Reformer Pilates as of right now.
Versa is just in the Gulfport location.
For the time being.
Correct.
We've said we'd evaluate that for Ocean Springs, but the core, right? I mean, the foundation of everything she does is Pilates. And
yep.
we want to look at other modalities in these other studios where they make sense, based on who we know the clients are. Putting Versa climbers in Bay St. Louis, I'm just going to tell you, just wouldn't work. I mean, we know who the client base is there, and that's not what they want to do. Gulfport, it has worked, and we think that there's probably opportunity in Ocean Springs, but it was a better idea, we thought, just to get the foundation taken care of first, get Pilates really running, get the instructor base there comfortable, with the clients. Let's get a real feel for that, that community, that location, and then we can make that call later. We have space set aside, but there aren't climbers there.
Thinking about it too, you also have to, like, what the people have to understand is that there's certifications involved in this as well.
That's correct.
Like, you can't just like turn all this on and be like, hey, guess what? We're doing Versa now. It's like, no. Like, we got to, like, who's interested in how much of your instructor base is interested in getting certified? How much of them are interested in picking up Versa classes? I mean, this is an entire undertaking that you don't want to just like click a switch and be like, hey, guess what? Now we're doing Versa. It's like, no, I could see that there's like a runway to roll all of this out. And y'all have only been open over there for like 3.5 months.
That's right.
3 months. So I totally get just having a space available is probably enough for right now.
Yes.
Okay. So y'all have 3 locations now. We're 6 years into this. Where do you guys see yourselves in the next 5 years? Like, where do you see yourselves in like 2030, 2031? Honestly, like, have y'all ever thought about it? Because it seems the way that this story has unraveled has just been, like you said, Brandon, it's like, there isn't like a 10-year business plan. It's just kind of like God has kind of blessed you guys with opportunities that seem to work out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what do you see yourselves in the next 5 years?
Well,
we're looking at each other like, who's going to answer that question? Because our answers are probably different.
Yeah. So of course
Well, let's get both answers and then we'll just compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Well, I don't go into anything without the idea of world domination.
He believes in me so much and would love to see me open 5 or 6 more, I'm sure. So kid-wise, we've got 6 kids together, and over half are out of the house in college, and I've got the last 2 that will be out soon. So for me, I'm not so sure I see multiple studios open in my future. I'm really content with where I am right now, although we've had some requests for even East and West.
Yeah. Look, I can't divulge locations, but I would say, I mean, we do get pretty consistently people reaching out about, locations that would be east, west, and obviously not south, so north, in areas, that maybe are underserved. That's all. If we do anything else, it would be in a market. Again, it's kind of like why we didn't want to go to Ocean Springs to begin with. The opportunity just was perfect. It's the situation just has to be right for us to look at somewhere else. And honestly, I can say this from the business standpoint. Christina, I mean, watching her evolve from a person who is just teaching 40 classes on her own, it's just physically so demanding, and then evolving into, being able just to manage a staff of 27-ish instructors, keep all of that, keep all the trains running on time and keep the schedule right and the classes, all lined up. That's a big shift for her. And, expanding the footprint, at this point, we can drive to Ocean Springs or Bay St. Louis. These are easy-ish to get to. Expansion beyond either of those, east, west, north, is another model, right? I mean, it creates a different type of challenge.
Yep.
And it would just take a lot of planning in terms of personnel. I've watched this in my other businesses, just as we've evolved and we think about succession and bring people in and, take things off of, and personally taking things off of my plate in those businesses to put them, on somebody else's plate so that I can continue to do other things, as those businesses grow. This is the same thing. There would have to be a lot of deliberate, thought and calculation going into, okay, how do you manage that? Because that's different, a location that you can't get to quite as easily.
Yeah. And you'd have to have someone you had total 100% complete trust in.
You do. Yeah. And that's a hard thing for an entrepreneur to do.
It's very, very, very difficult because I would imagine, and I know I've had to do a handful of succession issues where I pulled people up I've promoted, I've retired, I've brought
Yeah.
new people in. I mean, I recently just replaced my CFO this past year, and I replaced a guy who'd been here for 32 years. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not, especially as a chief financial officer, and for a company our size, he doesn't just crunch numbers, right? Like
That's right.
he's handling more than a CFO would normally handle.
Yeah.
But found a guy and I pitched it to him a couple years ago and he's in now. So he's doing pretty good. But I would understand that, yeah, you'd have to find the right person at the right time with the
Hmm.
right location.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, it's all very exciting, guys. And I know that you guys are living y'all's dream, and it's great to see people who are passionate about their employees and their clients, and that's what you guys are. And I think that whatever you guys do, you're going to do it the right way because you have a track record over the last 6 years. So I just want to appreciate you guys coming on. Before I let you all go, because I've kept you longer than I should, but before I let you all go, if anyone who's listening to this wants to start taking classes or is interested in taking classes, how would they go about doing that across the Gulf Coast?
So our website, Reformed by Christina Pike, is out there, and they can get a lot of information off that. And then the Mind Body app is where we have all our pricing and our scheduling and all of our locations listed.
Okay. And also, since you guys are about to be empty nesters in the next like 2.5 years, what are some things that y'all are looking to try to do when you do become an empty household? I know that between the both of y'all, there's 6 children. That's a lot of scheduling and itineraries and activities, and just to have some more free time to be together. What are like some things that y'all would want to go do?
We traveled, Andrew. We try to do it now. It's something that we've done really since we're I think it probably hasn't been said explicitly here, but anybody who knows us knows that our family is blended, and so it's been very, very important to us since day one of our marriage to have time, just the two of us together, because there are a lot of challenges in raising a family like this, and so we've always loved to travel, and I would see us doing
More of
hopefully
that.
even more of that. Yeah. Now the destinations may wind up being where we have a kid, because we're parents and we go check in on the kids, and so we'll see what those destinations look like. But we're not look. I mean, we're going to be. Christine's going to have her business for a while longer. I'm going to certainly be involved, for a while longer. So we won't have total freedom for a little while. But yeah, I would see a lot more travel in our future when we're not worried about kids in school or sports schedules and things like that.
Well, Brandon, I think that what you just said was kind of, how everybody's always like, oh, what's the key to a happy marriage? I think this is my personal opinion. I think that the key to a happy marriage is dedicating time to just that marriage. And I know that people might think that once you have kids, it's all about the kids. It's like, well, the marriage was there before the kids.
Yeah, let me tell you, in our situation, we had kids there before the marriage. However,
Right.
What I would say to anybody, this, not a marriage podcast, but I'd say two things. Two things. We celebrated an anniversary just a few weeks ago, and somebody actually stopped and asked us, what kind of our secret was. There are two things. One, as you just said, guarding your time together. Our kids would get mad. I mean, they would not like it. And we said, look, we're going to go out of town. We're just going to New Orleans for the weekend. We're going to be gone. You're going to stay with, this grandparent or with that friend or whatever. And, we'll be back. We're leaving Friday. We'll be back Sunday. And they would get mad about it. But we have said, I'm telling you, you need for us to do this. Like we are going to be better parents if we guard the time that we have together, because otherwise things just don't stay on track. So I think it's that. And there's a selflessness that you have to have in a marriage that I think we do pretty good at. It's like we try to outwork each other. What can I do for you today? Like, how can I help you? Let me help you with that.
It's like a contest to see who can be the better spouse.
Yeah. He tries really hard.
We're not, nobody's keeping score here, but I think that guarding that time just one-on-one together.
I agree. And
is huge, and looking for ways to support your spouse. I mean, those it's not all going to be perfect even when you do those things, but does it?
Yeah, putting effort in and trying to have those, even if it's a weekend, like you said, trying to have those little one-off trips where, you go, you remember what it was like to be dating again. And it allows you to kind of, and the funny part about those visits and those times when you're just alone and it's just you and your wife is like, all you do is talk about the kids. It's like,
or in our case, Pilates.
yes. And it's like, I remember we used to go when our kids were really small. I mean, they're still kind of young, 10 and 8, but we would go and it would be like, we would go somewhere for like 3 or 4 days, like just to try to get away. And we do that probably try to do that once or twice a year. And it's like, we all just end up looking at pictures of our kids on our phones and we're like, remember this? Like, and it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But
That's okay. As long as you're connected.
Brandon and Christina, thank you so much for the conversation, and the time, and the insight to really how this came about, and it kind of shows anybody else out there that if you have a passion and you kind of have a steadfast moral ability to hold true to yourself, that you're capable of kind of making your dream come true. And I really appreciate the time, and I look forward to our next visit.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
A huge thank you to Brandon and Christina Pike for sharing their inspiring journey with us today. Here's my 3 key takeaways from this episode. First, turning a personal passion like Christina's love for fitness and helping others can be the spark that launches an impactful business. Second, a supportive partnership, both at home and in business, is essential for sustainable growth and balancing life's challenges. And third, staying true to your mission and creating a welcoming, community-driven space is what leads to loyal clients and real success. If you're along the Gulf Coast and want to experience what makes their studios so special, check out Reform by Christina Pike or visit any of their locations in Gulfport, Bay St. Louis, or Ocean Springs. You'll find more info and class bookings at their website and on the Mind Body app. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Bottled Up. Thanks for listening to the Bottled Up podcast. Want us to deliver this show to your email inbox as they drop? Want to tell us about how you like the show? Or do you want to tell us about a Gulf Coast business or restaurant that you'd like for us to spotlight in any upcoming episodes? Email Ashton McEwen at abevinc.com. That's AMCKEOWN at ABEVINC.com. That's ABEVINC.com. Want to know more about Allen Beverages and how we work with our clients, partners, and vendors? Check out allenbeverages.com. This show was edited and produced by Johnny Gwynn and Deep Fried Studios.